Speaking of weirdness with China's control or stranglehold on some of these industries that we have in the U.S., did you see the video of John Cena apologizing to China for saying Taiwan was a country?
I didn't see it.
He made a movie recently. I think it was last year. He came out with a movie, and he was doing press, right? He was traveling, doing press on the movie, and then there was a random interview he was in where one little bit of that 30-minute interview he referenced Taiwan as a country, and then there was some backlash from China, so he came out with this video on all of his social media platform apologizing in Mandarin. He's speaking fluent fucking Mandarin. Yeah. Like, holy shit. And he's apologizing to China, and then they found out later, they dissected the revenue from that movie. This is wild, bro.
Look at that.
They dissected the revenue from that movie. I think if you could find out how much, I forget the name of the movie even, but I think it was the movie made like $500 million and 450 of it was from China.
I don't see that. So going back to your point about, does China have a stranglehold on industry? It has a stranglehold on one John Cena movie.
Culture, and some sort of influence. I mean, that is influence.
That is worthless influence. That is not influence that you can use on any kind of geopolitical stage, right? It's the John Cena movie that even you don't remember the title of.
Right. I never watched it.
What kind of influence is that? Right? Does that influence his pocketbook?
It could influence a lot of little kids.
Dude, China, if you're watching, Taiwan is a country. Taiwan, if you're watching, China's a big bully, right?
How dare you?
Whatever. Dude, we don't need to dance around this stuff. These are the realities that we all need to accept, right? China is going to take Taiwan. They're going to try. Mm-hmm. Right now, what they are seeing in Ukraine is that America's not going to do anything. The reason that China loves to see headlines on social media and in the press talking about how America's abandoning Ukraine is because it knows it's planting the seeds 2 years in advance. This is an influence campaign against Taiwan. What are Taiwanese people thinking right now? China, if the U.S. isn't going to back Ukraine, what are they going to do for us? Do you know what I mean? China, the U.S. abandoned Afghanistan. The U.S. abandoned the Ukrainians. The U.S. abandoned Hong Kong. We know China's gunning for us because they tell us all the time. The headlines in Taiwan tell us that one day Taiwan's going to become part of China. They're getting a very clear message in American U.S. foreign policy, and they've been getting it for 2 years, and they'll get it for another 2 years as Biden continues to take an isolationist approach without calling it isolationist, because he just doesn't want to. He doesn't want to put the U.S. in any kind of conflict like that.
Is that the right thing or the wrong thing? What do you think?
That's his decision. He's the president. The president is a role I will never criticize a president, because it's a terrible position to be in. Right? When we were here talking about Trump was the president. Like, that is a burden. They have the right to make whatever decision they're going to make. I came from the executive branch. I did whatever the president said because that job sucks. You know, what I'm here to tell you is what the future holds, because I think that there's value in knowing what the future brings. What's happening right now, this would have been valuable to know 2 weeks ago. But instead of having any kind of helpful insight, all we had was media reverberating, restating something that Biden said. Any day now. It's worthless. If somebody would have said, hey, February 23rd, February 24th, somewhere in there, there's going to be an invasion. There's going to be bombs. Everybody would have loved to have heard that. That would have been useful information. Instead, it was just, we believe Russia will invade in the coming days or weeks. That could mean anything.
So with China backing Russia right now, like, what does that mean for us in the near future? Does that, like you said, obviously it's not a good thing for us to push them closer together.
Right. It means that sanctions are going to fail. So Russia's not going to stop being a bully. It also means that all of the wealthy people in Russia are going to be able to move their money in and out of Russia through China, through Chinese banks, through other currencies besides the U.S. dollar. And it's very unlikely that the U.S. is actually going to impact the SWIFT banking system. That's a devastating sanction that will actually impact Americans. So they're not going to do that.
Explain that one? The SWIFT banking system?
Yeah, so the SWIFT system is a system that banks around the world use to transact very rapid and...
Like wire transfers? Is that what you say? When you get a SWIFT code from a bank, that's a Okay.
Correct. But like most of us are Swift. If you're using a Swift code at all, it's because you're wire transferring, $1,000 here and there to pay for something.
Okay.
I mean, that's also how big investment banks transfer hundreds of millions of dollars in investment, right? So to shut down the Swift accounts in Russia, or to take Russia off of the list of people who can transact via Swift, is basically going to cut off all Americans who have any investment benefits, any investment at all in Russia, including the American government or American corporations that have any kind of investment that is tied to Russia. It's going to shut off their ability to make money from their investment. It's not going to work, right? You're going to have outcries from wealthy Americans and wealthy corporations because that's all globalized. The world is globalized. You can't just not use China for manufacturing yet. You can build other supply chains, but as those other supply chains are being built, you still have to work through China. So sanctions are going to fail. And that's what we all know. That's what any historian out there will tell you. They've been failing for the last 12 to 15 years. So it's not going to change. And what it's doing is it's allowing China and Russia to have more of an investment in each other. So now instead of investing in the U.S., Russia's going to invest in China. China's instead of going to invest in the United States, they're going to invest in Russia. They're going to keep working together, just like we see them working on the UN Security Council together. And they're going to keep backing each other, which also means they're going to share intelligence, which also means they're going to share training, which also means and they're closer geographically than we are to either of them.
Right.
So that's the direction that they're going in. The Biden administration knows that. The whole intelligence infrastructure has been watching this for decades, and we see that that's the direction they're going. Russia is full of poor, ignorant people. China is full of poor, ignorant people. They both have very strong dictators that have stayed in power many years longer than their original purpose or original constitution said, with no intentions of leaving that office. And they have both publicly pronounced that they have intentions and ambitions to take territory that does not belong to them. The writing is on the wall, folks. We shouldn't be surprised when we see these things happen, right? Moldova is in danger. All the stands are in danger, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, the former Soviet states. It's just a matter of time before Russia continues to expand and take those places that are worthless economically to the United States, but
So you're saying it
impactful.
really doesn't matter to us whether Russia takes the Ukraine or whether China takes Taiwan.
It doesn't matter. It matters to us in principle. But,
in principle, our morals, wherever those are.
right. But when it comes down to it, are we going to send American troops to die for Taiwan?
No,
I
but we'll
don't
send
think so.
billions of dollars in ammunition and in military power so we can win more money for Raytheon and our military industrial complex.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
we win there, military industrial complex, and we win with the media. The media makes more money.
And when you think about it, what do Americans like? What are our true values? Our true values are
Money.
how do we remain the economic superpower in the world? Would you rather give up superpower status in exchange for becoming Taiwan's best friend and protecting them against the China and going into a prolonged 7, 10, 12-year war protecting them?
Right.
Or would you rather remain the world's economic superpower?
Right.
It's a practical decision. Everybody listening is saying the same thing. I'd rather stay the superpower. And that sucks for Taiwan. I'm just telling you, it'll happen in 2024.